Very much for your time, Sireesha. Go ahead.
Not a problem at all. Do you see my screen okay?
Everything looks great.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So I have to thank you for taking the time so I can show you our quality and compliance software. And just a quick intro. Sorry, I think I had the wrong conference call number, so I was waiting on some other meeting. But just, I don't know both of your roles and your interest in it, so I would like to know that. I mean, once we get in, I'd like to know a little bit more, but just a brief introduction about myself. Sireesha Mandava. I've been with NSF for over 15 years now. I head up the Aspirago Software Services Business Division at NSF. And before I took on this role, about 3 years ago, I was the Director of IT for NSF. So throughout my career here at NSF, we have been living and breathing food safety, product quality, certification, audit management software. We actually developed a lot of that software in-house from ground up because we didn't find anything in the market. So as NSF was growing into a lot of different areas, we had so much need for flexibility in the software. At the same time, we had hundreds of remote field staff who needed to do audits where there are no internet connections. So anyway, everything came together to help us actually invest in, design, and develop a very robust audit, certification, supplier management software. So as we did that, in a few years, we were exposing that to our customers so they could see the results of our services, and they really liked it, and they started asking us if we could offer our software for their purposes. Not necessarily the audits or services done by NSF, but services, that audits that they want to do themselves. So back in 2012, we launched Aspirago as a separate software services division because we wanted to do it right. We upgraded our data centers and put in all the firewalls in place and started the software services division as a software as a service, fully hosted software. So I think a couple months ago, right, Al, we were talking and he mentioned that you do have some audit management needs and that you are interested in taking a look at the software. So I thought I'd give an introduction at this point, kind of know what you're really interested in, and then if you do want, then I can go into a deeper dive into specific modules at a later time. Does that sound okay?
That sounds good to me. What happened was Mike came in with a group from U of M and gave a presentation about what he and I had done in 2014, and Kevin and some other folks were there, started talking about audit, some of the stuff that we do on management of data, etc. And and that's where the conversation started. And so I think you're right down you're down the right path for sure.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you. So this is the agenda. Like I mentioned, just introduction about us. I want to talk a little bit about where you see the applications, and then do a brief demo. As I mentioned, we are a subsidiary of NSF International, but a separate entity for data separation. What we are offering are integrated quality and compliance data management solutions. And this software, like I mentioned, even though with this name officially it's been available for 3 years, the software in itself has been in use within NSF for over 10 years now. I remember back in 2004 is when we launched our first offline mobile application for doing audits anywhere in the world and synchronizing the data by our auditors.
Sireesha, just one clarification, if you could, for a moment, that sure. For standards development, you're using Kavi as your software. This appears to me this is software for conformity assessment and compliance. Do I have that right?
Yes, you're right.
All right, good. So Christina, there's a number of software platforms that different standards developers use. As we go across, there's about, let's say, 275 ANSI standards developers, and there might be 20 different companies that are supplying software to them, and most of that software is dedicated to how they develop their documents, how the regulatory documents are developed among a balanced group of stakeholders. Once you have the standard, it's not meaningful unless you're able to enforce it,
Right.
or allow a user for whom the standard is necessary for their business to have a way to audit and make sure that they're conforming to the standard. And that's what this appears to be for the food safety space. Now, did I summarize that well enough, Sireesha?
Yes.
Okay.
Makes sense.
And this might be a good time for me to, kind of understand both of your roles, Mike and Christine. Could you give me a very brief intro on
You first, Mike.
Well, I take big bites of things. I'm attracted to things that are impossible.
Okay.
So in general, I've been at the university for 34 years. I founded, this is my third and likely my final big enterprise. I founded the university's, I brought personal computers, believe it or not, 1982 into plant extension, K-Pro 20 with under CPM and digital research for those of you home gamers remember that in that world. And after that, then I was the university, so I did that for about 6-7 years, turned it over to people who could run it. Then I was the university's electrical power engineer. I built it. I doubled the size of the system in terms of connected load. And then I basically founded I was the first full-time electrical engineer in plant operations. And so now they have a whole staff. They have a staff of 20 or 30 over there right now. Maybe 20, 25. And then finally, this one here I started in 1997, but I've been scaling up into it. So we've shown the value to the industry to capture about $3 million of avoided cost opportunity for U of M. We have to work with, to some degree, to get that amount of money. We have to work with the nation and the world. So we're doing what would be called a high-hanging fruit, and so we want to make this thing work, become a permanent characteristic of the university and the industry. So that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Christine?
Yes. Well, I have just come on board to work with Mike to support all of his efforts. My background is in marketing and communications primarily. I have a bachelor's in political science and a master's in communications, and I worked at the university for approximately 15 years, left, and have now come back after doing some teaching as an instructor in communications. So my role is to assist Mike in this area of standards advocacy. One of the things that I'll be doing is paying attention to the legislative arena and what is happening as it relates to standards, and also just working with any of the stakeholders to get this message out. I'm sure there's a lot of other things I'll be doing, but I actually just started, well, tomorrow officially, so I've just come on board this week. So it's a work in progress at the moment.
I see. Well, thank you. And I just have to mention one more thing about myself. I went to law school. So the university is pretty close to my heart, too.
Oh, the university's law school? A lawyer?
No, not law school, Ross School of Business.
Oh, Ross School of Business. Okay, I was going to say something abusive about lawyers. There you go. I got a bunch of lawyer jokes. Go ahead.
All right. Well, without delay, I'm going to go into it. Again, I'm not so sure which parts of the software you'll be interested. I thought it's audit management, but let me actually go into what we're offering, and then you can tell me about it. So here is basically it's a suite applications. It's an integrated suite of modules that you can pick and choose to manage suppliers, products, or site compliance. Site compliance in the sense it could be anything in terms in the retail world it would be their stores, but from the university perspective it could be different locations within the campus, or even, you know, if you're actually doing, we even do this software for hotels and hospitals where within one building you're identifying different areas within the building that need to be managed for conformity in terms of either could be audits or complaints or you know, a particular type of audits. It might not be just food safety, but maybe the test results, maybe swabbing is done in particular sites. So basically putting all of the information that is needed for quality and compliance together for one or more of these. And within that, what we offer are maintaining documents. Basically, you know, I'm actually going to talk to you more from the site's perspective. And you might also have the supplier's perspective, but I'm going to talk more from the site's perspective. So basically, in you know, in different locations, if you're actually managing certain licenses, you know, or you know, fire insurances or things like that, that you have to manage at individual locations and make sure that they're up to date. And when the permits are expiring, there will be a lot of tasks that need to be done to ensure that, you know, you're applying for the permits and you're getting them and you're keeping them up to date. So that is our documents module, which not only keeps track of all the documents, but also proactively alerts and sends reminders if, you know, a few days before the documents are expiring, and facilitates the whole process of uploading and approving the documents. Then we have assessments. Assessments is basically a very intelligent questionnaire. You can use it, again, the uses of it are multiple. You can utilize it. So, for example, you know, you want to send out this questionnaire every month to this particular, you know, location, and you want them to answer those questions, and based on that, you will decide whether you're going to go and audit them or not, or whether you're going to test or not. And as they come in, the system can automatically score the questionnaire, and give a grade to it, a pass, fail, or you know, or other letter grades to it, and ensure that the problems are highlighted automatically to the people who need to attend to those problems. This is used in a variety of ways with our customers. They use it for recalls, sending out a quick questionnaire to all of their stores to identify if they're using or if they have any of those products on the shelf, things like that, or you know, sending it out to individual maintenance personnel, or you know, the sanitation people who have actually just cleaned, so they have a questionnaire available, so they're like cross-checking and checking everything, and then the system alerts them what they need to do right away. Audits is one of our most comprehensive, detailed module. Very detailed checklists are available with scoring and grading, and mobile audit tools. Basically, our auditors can, you know, have the app on their iPads or Androids or laptops or PCs, synchronized with one button, get all the data onto their device. For the audits that they're conducting, they can just go totally offline, do the audit, even print the audit report for the site while being offline, come back and do a one-button synchronization for all the data to come back online, where the reports are auto-generated. Not only audit reports, but it automatically identifies any corrective actions that are noted in the audit and creates them individually with deadlines, and sends it out to whoever is supposed to respond to the corrective actions with root cause analysis, preventive action, corrective action, etc.
Okay, so if I understand, if you don't mind, Sireesha, so if we're working with the housing department's food stores and they are aware, they have to maintain the food supply and prepare it correctly, and there's other requirements to keep the food and the food itself and the food supply chain safe. This is a tool that helps them do that. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, good. So not sure if what they do over there. So as I'm listening to this, I'm thinking we're going to make sure that they are at least aware of this and that it's a local product with local support.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And then the workflow back and forth, ensuring that the responses to corrective actions go to the right people, there's approval, and then keeping track of all of it back and forth is all available. And then we have complaints, accidents, and incidents. Now this will provide a way for the end users, right? Somebody like, let me take your housing department food store, right? So the people who work over there will have access to log a complaint that, a box of cheese came in moldy, for example, from the supplier, so they could just log in a complaint about that. And then the system will automatically send it to the right personnel, alert the right personnel. And then once the complaint is identified as valid or invalid, then the supplier gets notified, so the supplier can respond to it, and then the whole back and forth about resolving the issue can all be facilitated through the system. That's about complaints. Again, if say, for example, the university is getting from the same supplier for all of the stores, and say 3 stores have notified that they got moldy cheese, and the system can automatically identify that multiple complaints are coming in about the same product and same supplier within a certain time period, and automatically group the complaints together, creates an escalation, and notifies the right people that multiple complaints are coming in, so they can take immediate action. And even all these complaints will be grouped together, so the supplier also can respond to it in one go. In addition to complaints.
No, that's I'm just thinking, Allan, we have to talk separately about getting making food safety standards one of our focus topics, because it's at least as large an enterprise as our swimming pools and our recreations. So that's going on the back of my mind. I'm always looking for content for our weekly sessions, and
Right.
this would be, when you look at standards development as a half, finding a leading practice itself, developing the standard, and of course the standard doesn't work unless you can make it, you can make conformity to it economically feasible. So I'm hoping here that you and I, Allan, if you could put together 20 minutes overview of all the food safety standards that NSF develops for housing, for hospitals. I know 20 minutes is not much, not a lot of time. And then, of course, Sireesha can explain the conformity part, because I do a lot in the electrical space. But this is an important, when you talk to the people of the hospital, and food safety is right on the top there of their agenda, their safety agenda.
And we haven't talked about it in any detail, really, Mike, because NSF, we don't own a whole lot of food safety standards, I'd say. They're not like the ANSI stuff. I was a food safety sanitation auditor, and I stopped doing it just when Asparago was coming on board, and I audited against SQF. We do have Cook and Thurber, that one we own, but as far as the standards themselves and writing and rewriting, this is something we certify against very, very well, but we don't have the joint committees that are writing and rewriting. With that said, I mean, your point makes complete sense. I mean, we do a whole lot of food safety audits, and internally, you guys must do. I mean, that's how this all got started, right? So, let me let me think about the best way to do that. You know, bring somebody else in that makes sense, because we do retail food safety and we do manufacturing food safety, and they're really two different animals. Second party, third party, there's a lot to consider when we start going down that road. So.
Okay, yeah, the dormitories. I know there's a lot of very what I call food-sensitive people. I'm like a dog. I eat anything, you know, and when I'm hungry. But I know a lot of people are very fussy about what they eat, and I know there's whole clubs that are. I went to one of the dorms recently. There's a food club, and their complete focus is upon food supply chain, food sustainability. So it's at least a marquee. I don't know how much money we spend in as a universe, as an industry, but I'm guessing it's somewhere on the order of maybe $10 billion a year we're buying on food, we're spending on food. So it strikes me that that does fall in our area of interest. So go ahead, Sireesha. We are running against a time limit. Are you able to move this along in about 10 minutes?
Yeah, I think so.
Sorry about the questions. I'm slowing you down.
Yeah, I can do a different demo of a specific, module if you're interested. I'm going to skip past these two. I mean, these are product specifications. You know, if you have to track, if you're buying products and you have to track, allergens and ingredients in it, the system helps with that. Also, it allows you to track the supply chain, where the products are coming from. In all of this, what we do is basically pull all of the information together that is important to you and put together dashboards and scorecards. For example, if it is a particular site, you can look at the health and safety part of the site. You can look at the food safety part of the site. You can look at like you talked about the pools. You can look at that. You can look at number of accidents and incidents that happen, number of complaints that are coming in. Put all of that together and show a dashboard exactly so you have the entire picture, but you can identify the risky pieces right away and then drill down into it. So we use our Tableau dashboarding tool, which is very cool, does all the drill down and trending and everything on less than 3 clicks. And then we provide portals for everybody who's using. Now, these portals are not just login IDs, but they also provide a mechanism for communicating the right SOPs, any new procedures, of course, the training documents, any announcements that are being made about maybe something has changed and you have to start doing so and so from May 1st. You can send out announcements, and the system sends emails and also shows on the portal. So that's our suite. We continuously improve it, add a lot of features to this. But what we have found is it is almost like a platform where you can mold it to what you want in terms of quality and compliance.
Okay.
Any questions on here?
No, I think it's. How many more? Is that the bulk of it? Oh, I see. You have more here. I'm just trying to make sure we get done before 9 o'clock, before 10. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Keep going.
I was just going to show, some of our dashboards. I also have them live, but I don't think we have enough time. So I just wanted to show this is our supplier risk dashboard, showing the scores, audit scores of a particular product type, different countries, different areas. Here's our auditing dashboard, just an example. But for you, you can almost have like a university map here and do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
We do that for hotels too. We have the hotel map, and then within that, it will show how each area is doing in terms of risk.
Mm-hmm. Now, to what degree does the state, isn't there a state agency, state of Michigan agency, that looks at food safety for the entire state of Michigan supply chain? Or is it done just by individual institution or enterprise? So if I'm a hospital system, say the Mercy Healthcare system, isn't there a state agency that's looking over that? Or are you on
No,
your own as far as, I mean, you have to conform to those federal FDA requirements. So I thought there was there was an intermediate state agency that deals with food supply chain safety.
yeah, you know, Mike, it depends. It depends on the category you're in. If you're in meat or dairy, it's typically handled by the Michigan Department of Agriculture, which ultimately rolls up into the federal system, the USDA. However, it gets broken up at some level, depending on what you're dealing with. If you look at the USDA versus the FDA, categories matter. If you're into dry goods or canned goods, etc. So there's different agencies. I wish it were easier to manage it than that, but yeah, it really depends. And then there's even some local health department things that happen. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
I was going to bring up the hotel dashboard, but that's okay. I think I'm going to go back to the presentation.
Mm-hmm.
So we can have more discussion rather than, me showing. Actually, since I have this, do you see the dashboard?
Yeah.
I'm showing.
Well, this is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I never. It makes all sense to me. I never really. This is a, being electrotechnology, but we probably spend more on food than we do electrical.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, our software is used a lot in the food. It's also used in other areas. But you're right, actually, food uses a lot more, probably because of the that there's one thing that they assume that food is safe, and that there's another thing that you want to get to a particular quality. So like you mentioned, the government regulation. So that's part of the software, but many of our customers have so much more than just the regulations too.
Mm-hmm.
So then they have their own audits. Like for example, this particular one, you can see the non-compliance rates. So they actually want to see specifically what exactly is going wrong in each of individual stores, so that they can incorporate that into training. They can incorporate that into other behavioral, on-the-job kind of training stuff, or more of a corporate training and things like that. And then they can also kind of predict where the risk is coming from, what they can take, what actions they can, take in order to reduce that risk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have you had any, in your experience, dormitory or hospital, I call them unlocking events, but that's just code for saying something bad happening. Do you have any, when a dormitory food scare, for example, or a hospital food scare? Have you what kind of risk is there? Do you guys count that kind of a risk?
Yeah, each one has their own. There is one thing as an outbreak, right? So something happened and that needed to be taken care of. So that's like, like what you're mentioning. And then there's another thing of continuously monitoring, right? So, we do have where an incident occurs, right? So our complaint system, and I don't have time to go into that so much here, but our complaint system, let me go here to the PowerPoint so I can show our complaint dashboard, helps you to identify the incidents that are happening, right? So if there is a dorm food scare, right, and then you are like getting multiple complaints about it, and then you're getting down to what exactly is going wrong, is that incident management. So it's all encompassed inside our complaints and incident management. But on an ongoing basis, if you're continuously monitoring the suppliers, that they have the food safety practices in place, and that in the place where they're preparing the food, that they have the food safety practices in place, and then they are storing the food properly, and the suppliers are actually supplying the right things, then it's a continuous risk management, right? So you're doing audits and you're figuring out and you're putting things into action, so you'll reduce the risk of such big incidents happening.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of the system, it is designed to help you continuously monitor risk and try to proactively identify if something is going to happen, but it also helps in managing the incidents when they happen.
It strikes me that I haven't heard any incidents at U of M. You know, a couple times a month you'll see some kind of a recall going on, and they announce the product numbers on the national news. But I think in general, when I look at all the bad, it looks like this situation, there's a lot of sample points, which is kind of nice. It strikes me this is relatively under control, but of course it opens onto a new area of sensitivity I think is necessary if we're going to develop standards. Remember that my groups are principally concerned with developing the standard. Now, we're always mindful of if you're going to develop a standard, it's got to be verifiable. So I get that. Sireesha, we actually have a technical limit with the size of the video file. So we're running over a half an hour here, but could you just say a few words about all of your slides before we go? Are you able to do that? Go ahead. I'm a veteran of putting slides together. I no longer have time. I don't want to inflict that on anybody, so I know you put a lot of effort in this. It looks like it.
Not a problem. I was going to do a live demo. That's actually my last content slide. So I can email this presentation to you.
Okay.
And you know, I know we just have like 6 minutes left. I want to see what you see as next steps. What specifically you would be interested in terms of utilizing the software for managing safety or.
Well, okay, so I'm glad Christine's here. We have worked, Allan and I, for well over a year now trying to identify food safety people. They're unresponsive. The public, as we like to say, the public sector really doesn't have a lot of extra spare capacity. Typically, I think a lot of this is being done by, it's being outsourced. So they're at that expertise, and that's not uncommon. The public, so that's not uncommon. We just don't have the spare capacity, and that's our real weakness. A lot of the reason we're here is to try to at least make the public sector aware of the opportunities it has to determine its cost structure through this ANSI process. That much said, there's a practical reality of getting a person halfway through their career to get them 16 hours a month to look over the documents that NF produces and try to put better ideas on the table. So that's our part of it. So I have to say that this area is one that we need to watch, but I still put it on a lower level of our radar because it seems to me it hasn't emerged as a major problem. It strikes me as being under control. However, you know that there's a lot of safety and human rights and sustainability issues that come into bear. So that's why food safety seems to me it's relatively well under control. And that's
sorry, Mike, for interrupting.
That's my long. I guess maybe that's my short answer to all that. Do you want to respond to that, Sireesha?
Yeah. I was just saying that I know we gave a lot of food safety examples, but this software is in use for environmental health and safety audit, sustainability questionnaires. It's been in use in a lot of other areas. So the software as a platform in itself can be utilized for any kind of audit or complaints or accidents or incidents.
So we do, I think our OSHA people, what I'm going to do is I'll be posting this video and I will start to roll it out and let others be aware of it. I think in the industry, if you've ever seen how fragmented our industry is, you'll see that every branch of the organization chart may well have their own piece of software. So I think I know where the inspiration for this came from. If we're going to be developing a conformity software for ourselves, then let's make it open so that others can use it, and then we can recover our investment in the software. So that's
Right.
always going on. It's been going on for as long as my career here, and so I understand the business opportunity you have to recover your cost over a wider user base, as well as create another enterprise within NSF that helps you guys continue development. So we are coming on to 10 o'clock here, and I've got to run off. I'm hoping that any closing statements, Sireesha?
No, I want to thank you for your time, and like I mentioned, if you do see, as you're talking to others, as you're developing the standards, if you do see that there is a need for this software either within the university or within your plans, I'd be very happy to even come over and do a personal demo, and hardly a few minutes away from the university.
Okay. All right. So then we're welcome to call in next week, a couple weeks from now. We can continue that discussion and see where that might give us some time to identify who else would be interested in this. And it may be just as easy enough to let them see this video, and that might save some time. Christine, did you have any thoughts here?
I know we're short on time. Is the motivation for other organizations to use the software to control their risk? Is that one of the primary purposes?
Yes, to continually manage the quality and compliance, meet the regulatory needs too. The software helps them meet the regulatory needs.
Right, and so for a university setting, as an example, like what Mike was saying, if there hasn't been an identified problem, then the organization needs to be educated about what the value of something like this would be. In other words, businesses in the private sector are motivated by their potential risk, right, to their bottom line.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, even in the university, I think it's more of maintaining safe places. I think that's what Allan and I were talking earlier too. If you already do audits and check on, different things manually, then this could help you do in paper, reduce the number of audits you have to actually go and do because you're sending out questionnaires. You're doing risk-based audits, so there are actually less audits.
Okay.
No paper, and you can actually see the intelligence of what's going on with all of those.
Okay.
So the question really is, how are they getting this information? How is the university setting getting the information? And there could be a process question. In other words, like how are they accomplishing this?
Yeah.
My guess is they might be doing by the bootstrap. Nothing is refined, and when you have NSF in it, there's always an assumption that there's a certain level of detail and knowledge that comes with it, and we'll have to see. We'll have to approach our food safety people. So this will motivate us to work a little harder to get a hold of them, and hopefully, Christine, we can spend a little time as we ration our communication resources. Allan, is there anything else that you want to add to this?
I don't think so. I was glad to. I got a course on this right when it was coming out in 2012, and I didn't have the opportunity to work with this when I was in the auditing piece, and I wish I would have. It looks like a great software interface, and I appreciate Sireesha doing this as well. I'll take the mantle here and keep working with Mike and Christina here to see how else we can help out.
Okay. So, I do have to get off to another session here. So I'll close the call now. You're welcome on May 12th, our next teleconference, same time, same place, 2 weeks from now. And I'll stop the recording.